Hello everyone, welcome to today's lecture. Today we will start with chapter 17, Introduction to Biotechnology, which is a chapter from Science B or Science 2. What are the topics we will see? Tissues, animal tissues and plant tissues. You have the study of classification, structure, its position and functions of animal tissues and plant tissues, tissue culture, agritourism and agribusiness. Okay. First we will see the can you recall questions. Which components bring about important processes in the living organisms? You have learnt this in your earlier classes. You have learnt about cells, tissues, organs and organ systems. So different life processes are brought about by these components. It is cells, tissues, organs and organ systems. Which is the smallest structural and functional unit of the body of living organisms? It is the cell. Now this topic is about tissue. Now what is a tissue? Okay, what is a tissue? Tissue is made up of a number of cells. I have written the definition given in the textbook here. Tissue. What is a tissue? A group of cells having the same origin, same structure and same function is called as a tissue. So the structural and functional unit of life is a cell. Okay. So several cells which perform similar functions. They are having the same structure, they perform the same function, they combine together to form a same function, that is said to be a tissue. So several cells form a tissue. So what is a tissue? A group of cells having the same origin, same structure and same function is called as a tissue. Now there are two types of tissues. There is a box given, a chart given in the textbook. You may see types of tissue. There are two types of tissue, simple tissue and complex tissue. The simple tissue is made up of only one type of cells. Simple tissue is made up of only one type of cells. Example, epithelial tissue, this is an animal tissue, and meristematic tissue, this is a plant tissue. So in this tissue, all the cells are the same. They are similar to each other. So they are made up of same type of cells. Complex tissue made up of more than one type of cells. Okay, so in complex tissue it consists of more than one type of cells. So there could be different types of cells in a complex tissue. Example, blood is a tissue in case of animals, xylem and phloem in case of plants. So what are the two types of tissue? The two types of tissue are simple tissue and complex tissue. Simple tissue is made up of only one type of cells. Complex tissue is made up of more than one type of cells. Okay, with examples. This is a 2-mark question. Okay, now in the next paragraph they have given the difference between plants and animals. Okay, the growth in case of plants is different and the growth in case of animals are different. So according to those differences, their tissues are also different. So first we will see the differences. Plants grow throughout lifetime. This you might have observed. Plants grow throughout their lifetime, but in case of animals, they grow only for a certain period of time. Okay, so we grow to an age of about 21 to 25 maximum. Above that, we don't grow in size. Okay, we don't grow. Next is growth in specific parts of the body. Okay, so growth is reduced, limited to some specific parts. For example, roots will grow in length, shoots will grow in length, the number of leaves will increase, but their growth is different. There is differentiation. Whereas in case of animals, they grow throughout, their body grows throughout. Okay, it is not that our one hand will grow more than that of other hand, they grow in proportion. Okay, so in case of animals, the growth is throughout the body, and in case of plants, the growth is in specific parts of the body. Next, they have different dividing and non-dividing tissues. That means in plant body, there are some tissues which don't divide, which don't increase in number, but it is not the case in case of animal bodies. In case of animal bodies, there are no dead cells as such. Okay, dead cells are always removed from the body, and mostly they are all dividing cells, or they are living cells which remain as it is. There are no dead cells. Okay, so in case of animals, they do not have different dividing and non-dividing cells. The last point is plants need less energy as they are sedentary. What do you mean by sedentary? Sedentary means they do not move from one place to another. So as they do not move from one place to another, their need for energy is less compared to that of animals. Okay, animals has to move from one place to another, so they need more amount of energy. So based on these differences, there are further differences also. Okay, based on these differences, the tissues which with which the plants are made up of and the tissues of animals, they are different in structure and functions. Okay, now we will start with the topic on page number 195, that is animal tissue. There is a think about it question. Why can we not see our organs like the heart, blood vessels and intestines? Why we cannot see it? Because they are placed internally. They are placed inside our body, so we cannot see it. Now, there are 4 main types of animal tissues. In our body, there are different types of tissues. Basically, more or less all the animals have these type of tissues. Okay, the structure of the cells might be different, but for same organisms, all the tissues are the same. For example, animal tissue, okay, it is divided into 4 types of tissue: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. You may draw this chart in your notebook. It is very important. It could be asked as a fill in the box question. The question will be classification of animal tissue. Draw a chart showing classification of animal tissue, or they will give you the chart and ask you to fill in the boxes. Okay, so animal tissue is basically divided into 4 types of tissues. It is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Epithelial tissue, it is divided into 6 types. There are 6 types of epithelial tissue in our body. So epithelial tissue forms the covering of our body. Okay, not only of our body, the covering of internal organs, like the covering of the stomach, the covering, the outer lining or the inner lining, the outer wall or the inner wall of the intestine. Okay, that is the meaning of lining, wall. Okay, so the covering, that is made up of epithelial tissue. This epithelial tissue is of 6 different types. What are they? Squamous epithelium, stratified epithelium, glandular epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated epithelium and cuboidal epithelium. You have to learn with spellings the name of these tissues. Okay, the spellings should be correct. Next is connective tissue. The connective tissue connects different parts of the body. Okay, first is blood, lymph, areolar tissue, adipose tissue, cartilage, bones, tendons and ligaments. These are the different types of connective tissue. Muscular tissue, they are also have different types. That means the muscle. There are different types of muscles in our body. First one is striated or skeletal. These are voluntary muscles, non-striated or involuntary muscles and cardiac muscles. And the last tissue is nervous tissue, which is made up of neurons. Some other type of cells are also present, but for your syllabus it is limited to neurons. Okay, so this is the classification of animal tissue. Now in our syllabus we are having the study of structure, function. Okay, structure, position and function of each and every type of tissue. Okay, so your question will be, write the structure, position and function of dash dash dash. Okay, it could be that way. They will give you the name of the tissue. You have to write the structure, function or position of the tissue. It is a 2-mark question. 1 mark for one question. Okay, for structure 1 mark, for position 1 mark, and for function 1 mark. Okay, it could be a 3 mark question or 2 mark question. So you may move on to page number 195. 195, there is a use your brain power question. Before that, epithelial tissue. Protective coverings in animal body are called epithelial tissues. Cells in this tissue are closely packed and form continuous layers. Now the last sentence you may see, it is a fill in the blank question. The skin, mucus layer of the mouth cavity, mucus layer means the slimy layer inside the mouth cavity, inner surface of blood vessels, walls of alveoli are made up of epithelial tissues. Now, use your brain power question. What keeps the various organs and organ systems separate from each other? How? Okay, the epithelial tissue separate each and every organ from each other. It forms a membrane around a particular organ. Okay, it forms a lining to each and every organ and it keeps all the organs separate. Now, page number 196, types of epithelial tissues. First one is squamous epithelium. You may see the structure. They consist of flat cells. It is single layered. Location, inner surface of the mouth, esophagus, blood vessels, alveoli. These are the lining of these organs are made up of epithelial tissue. It consists of flat cells and it is single layered. You may see it is single layered. Structure, it is thin, small, flat cells form semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane means it forms only, it allows only some substances to go outside and only some substances to come inside. Okay, so the movement of substances in and out of the cell is under the control of cell membrane. Function is selective transport of substances. Next is stratified epithelium. Strata means layer. I repeat, strata means layer. So stratified epithelium means there are layers of cells. You may see one above the other, there are several layers. The location is outer layer of the skin. It should be thicker, isn't it? The outer layer should be thicker. So the outer layer is having stratified epithelium. Structure, many layers of cells. And function, prevention of wearing of organs. Wearing is to get damaged. Okay, it shouldn't get damaged. Prevention of wearing of organs and protection of organs. Next is glandular epithelium. Now the glands, you have learnt about sweat glands. Where are sweat glands? It is inside the skin. Now the skin is having a layer like this. You may see this is the skin layer. This is the skin layer. There are sweat pores. Inside the sweat pores, there are glands like this. Okay, there are glands like this placed here. They are said to be sweat glands, and those sweat glands are made up of glandular epithelium. Okay, sweat glands are made up of glandular epithelium. So you may see glandular epithelium. Its location is inner layer of the skin, etc. The structure, cells contain vesicles packed with secretory materials. Secretory means something which secretes. So it, in case of sebum, okay, sebum, it is a oil which is produced on the skin. Okay, and in case of sweat glands, it produces sweat. That means it secretes sweat. Function, secretion of sweat, oil, that is sebum, mucus, etc. Now what is mucus? Mucus is the slimy substance. A simple example is the slimy substance which is present in the nose. Okay, that could be called as mucus. Next is columnar epithelium. In the name itself, the structure is there. Columnar means in the form of columns. Okay, in the form of columns. In civil language, for pillars, they call it as columns. Okay, the pillars, they call it as columns. So this is a column. It is a bigger structure, longer structure, higher structure. So it is said to be column or columnar epithelium. Location, the inner surface of intestine, Alimentary canal. Alimentary canal means digestive system. Structure. Column-like tall cells. Upper free surface bears folds made of these cells at places of absorption. Okay, so at the surface, upper surface, there might be folds. Okay, now these folds help in absorption, especially these are present inside the intestine. Now the food which is digested, the nutrients from that food is absorbed from the intestine, and this structure helps in absorption of nutrients from the digested food. So that is why those folds are there. Next, function. Secretion of digestive juice and absorption of nutrients. Next is ciliated epithelium. Now you may see, if this is the cell, there are small hair-like structures on the top of it. It is said to be ciliated epithelium. Location, inner surface of respiratory tract. Okay, there are hair-like structures in our nose, you might have seen. Okay, they what is the purpose? It is for the easy passage of air and to prevent the dust particles from entering into the respiratory system. So in our respiratory system there are cilia. Okay, here there are cilia which move like this, okay, and which helps the air to enter, to pass into the lungs. Okay, so structure, upper free surface of cells bears minute hair-like processes. Function, push mucus and air forward to keep the air passage free. Next is cuboidal epithelium. Now the cells, you may see their structure is in the form of a cube. That is why it is said to be cuboidal epithelium. Location, tubules of kidney, the nephron, you have studied about nephron. Salivary glands. Structure, the cells are cuboidal. Function, reabsorption of useful materials from urine and secretion of saliva. So this is about epithelial tissue, and the structure, location and function of each type of tissue. You have to learn all of them. Next is use your brain power question. You may see, why are epithelial tissues said to be simple tissues? Now in one diagram you may see all the cells are similar. Okay, you may see the structure of stratified epithelium, all the cells in that case is similar. You may see cuboidal epithelium, all of the cells are similar. So as all of the cells is made up of same type of cells, okay, the complete tissue is made up of same type of cells. That is why epithelial tissue is said to be a simple tissue. Next, observe a permanent slide of a blood smear under a compound microscope. What do you see? You can see different types of cells. Okay, so different types of cells. So epithelial tissue is a simple tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. It consists of different types of cells, so it is a complex tissue. Now we may move on to the next page, that is page number 197. They have given a table in which they have explained the structure, location and function of different types of connective tissue. First we will see blood. Location, you know blood, where blood is there, it is present in the blood vessels. Location, it is closed circulatory system. Closed circulatory system means compulsorily the blood is flowing through blood vessels. Okay, it starts from heart, it ends in heart. Okay, so nowhere in the body blood is floating. Okay, the blood is nowhere floating in our body. It is continuously flowing through the blood vessels only. Such type of system, it is said to be closed circulatory system. Structure, erythrocytes means red blood cells, leukocytes means WBCs, white blood cells, and platelets in a liquid plasma. You had studied about the structure last year. Function, transport of oxygen, nutrients, hormones and waste. Next is lymph. Now what do you mean by lymph? Lymph is a little whitish yellowish in color. Now what happens When the blood flows through the blood vessels, a little part of the fluid which is present in the blood, okay, except the blood cells, okay, RBCs, WBCs, okay, WBCs come out in a little amount, but RBCs don't, okay. So the lymph do not contain RBCs. But how lymph is formed? When the blood flows through the blood vessels, a little amount of fluid oozes out of the blood vessels due to pressure, okay, and that fluid, it is called as lymph. That fluid could be present anywhere in the body. It is freely present. It could be freely present. It has lymphatic vessels are also present, okay. So location, all around the cells in the body. Structure, fluid oozed out of blood capillaries, contains leukocytes and liquid ground substance. Function, protection of body from infections. Next is areolar tissue, between the skin and muscles around blood vessels, okay. Now areolar tissue, it is a packaging tissue. It is present anywhere in the body, wherever the body the cells are having vacant spaces, okay. It is present in the body wherever you need packaging, okay. You may see all the organs. If you have a skeleton, consider you have got a skeleton and you have been given all the organs. You have been given intestine, you have been given lungs, heart, stomach in your hand, and you have to put up everything, okay. What will you do? You will take the skeleton and you will tie each and every organ to each and every part. Now after tying, you might see there are places which are vacant, okay. Even if you are putting up the blood vessels, you are putting up the nerves, everything, still there might be some vacant places. We can say that those vacant places are filled up by areolar tissue, okay. It is for you to understand, okay. So below the skin and around internal organs. Structure, cells filled with fat droplets, different types of cells loosely arranged and supported by a jelly-like ground substance and elastic fibers. What is the function? It supports internal organs. Next is adipose tissue. It is below the skin and around the internal organs. Adipose tissue is the tissue which stores fat in our body. Structure, cells filled with fat droplets, jelly-like ground substance. Function, insulation, supply of energy and storage of fats. Next is cartilage. Location is nose, ear, larynx, trachea. You may see the bone of our nose. It is comparatively soft. This ears, they are also softer compared to that of compared to bones which we have in our hands, okay. So cells supported by fibrous, flexible, jelly-like ground substance. Function, it lubricates the surface of bones, gives support and shape to organs. Bones, it is the skeleton, a specific structure extending throughout the body. Osteocytes, you may underline, it is a objective question. Osteocytes, the cells in the bones are called as osteocytes, embedded in solid ground substance made up of calcium phosphate. Function, it supports and protects different organs and helps in movement. Next is tendons and ligaments, okay. They are present at the joints. Tendons, they are fibrous, strong, less elastic, okay. What is the function of tendons? It is joined muscles to bones, okay. So the muscles are not really present in the body. It is attached to the bones. So the muscles are attached to the bones with the help of this tissue, that is tendons. And ligaments join two bones together, okay. You might have heard that during an accident the ligament was torn, okay. What is a ligament? It combines two bones, understood. So these are the different types of connective tissue. We may move on to page number 198. Use your brain power question. Why do slim persons feel more cold in winter than those who are obese? Obese means fat, okay. So it is said that fat people do not feel cold. They feel cold, but not as much as thin people. So the reason is slim person has less amount of body fat. Now what do you mean by body fat? It is adipose tissue. What is the function of adipose tissue? The function of adipose tissue is to store fats. Understood? So the fats, what does it do? It acts as an insulator. Insulator means it prevents the temperature from entering into the body. Okay, so they feel less cold compared to that of thin persons. Next, why can bones not be folded? Okay, why we cannot fold the bones? Because they are rigid and they are not flexible. Next is muscular tissue. Now muscular tissue, muscle fibers and muscular tissues are formed from a special type of proteins which are called as contractile proteins. You may underline that statement. Special type of contractile proteins due to which contraction and relaxation is possible. So muscles are able to contract and relax. That is why we are able to move from one place to another, because the muscles, they can contract and relax. Muscles are made up of special type of proteins which are called as contractile proteins, which makes the muscles flexible. Okay, so you may see there are three types of muscular tissue: striated, skeletal or voluntary muscles, non-striated, involuntary muscles, or cardiac muscles. Okay, now the striated, if you see the striated muscles, consider this as a muscle fiber. There are dark and light bands when it is observed under the microscope. Okay, so when that muscle fiber is observed under the microscope, there are dark and white bands. So that is why it is said to be striated muscle. Now we will see the characteristics of striated muscles. Muscles are long, they are cylindrical, they are multinucleate. Multinucleate means many nuclei are there, and have no branches. Now for comparison, I will take the right hand side, that is of non-striated muscles. They are spindle shaped. Okay, spindle shaped means it is tapering at both ends. This is uninucleate, that means it is having only one nucleus, whereas this is multinucleate, that means it is having more than one nucleus. So you may see towards the left, muscle cells are long, cylindrical, multinucleate and have no branches. Now under non-striated muscles, you may see muscles are short, spindle shaped, uninucleate and have no branches. Now striated muscles, there are alternate dark and light bands on these muscles, and they are attached to bones. So they are called as skeletal muscles. Towards the right, you may see dark and light bands are absent. They are not attached to bones. Okay, now towards the left, they move as per our will, hence they are called as voluntary muscles. Towards the right, we cannot move it according to our will, so they are called as involuntary muscles. On the top of the page, you may write this question: differentiate between striated and non-striated muscles. The first point is the first point which has been given in the table. The second is there are dark and light bands on striated muscles. There are no dark and light bands on non-striated muscle. Striated muscles are attached to bones. Non-striated muscles are not attached to bones. Striated muscles are voluntary. Non-striated muscles are involuntary. Okay, and one example which has been given there, you may see. Function: these muscles bring about movements of arms and leg, running, speaking, etc. Okay, so the muscles for running, muscles on legs, they are striated muscles. And what about non-striated ones? They are present in the alimentary canal, blood vessels, etc. Function: movement of eyelids, passage of food through alimentary canal, contraction and relaxation of blood vessels. These are performed by non-striated muscles. Now the third one, that is cardiac muscles, which is specially for heart. Heart is a special pumping organ in our body. It is made up of muscle, and that muscle is cardiac muscle. Muscle cells are cylindrical, uninucleate and branch. Okay, they are branched. Structure: dark and light bands are present. The heart is made of these muscles. Their movements are not under the control of our will, so they are involuntary. They contract and relax rhythmically. That means they contract and relax in a particular rhythm. You had learnt it last year about heart, lub, dub sound. Okay, that is rhythmic in a particular cycle. Function: contraction and relaxation of heart. So this is about muscular tissue. 2 questions: differentiate between striated and non-striated muscles. Write the structure and function of cardiac muscle. Diagrams are important. Next, can you recall question? Which type of muscle is the diaphragm of the respiratory system? Now what is diaphragm? Diaphragm is a muscular organ which separates the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. It is a part of respiratory system. Okay, basically it is a skeletal muscle. Okay, it is a voluntary muscle. We can control it to a little bit. Okay, but we cannot control it after some time. That means breathing we cannot control continuously. Okay, we can control for a little amount of time, but after that it becomes impossible for us. Okay, so diaphragm, it is mostly voluntary but involuntary also. Next, close your eyes and try to identify different objects by feeling them with your hand. Okay, you can feel things with your hand. It is because of receptors which you have and the sensory organs which you have. And how does the sensory organs function? With the help of receptors and with the help of spinal cord and brain, that is the nervous tissue. So we are moving on to the next tissue, that is nervous tissue, which consists of neurons. Figure 17.2 is the repetition of the structure of neuron. It consists of branched structures called as dendrites. In the center there is a cell body. Okay, in the cell body there is a nucleus. There is a long tail-like structure which is called as axon. Okay, now there are 2 diagrams in your syllabus, but you have to stick to the diagram in the 15th lesson rather than in this chapter. Okay, so you have studied the structure and function of neuron. So this is about the classification of animal tissue. I repeat, animal tissue consists of epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue. These are the different types of epithelial tissue. These are the different types of connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Okay, you may go through the textbook. If you are having any doubt, you may ask. Thank you.